Comment period, which you'll be allowed 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes. I need to know which ones want to speak. So, Jess, if you don't mind, add to the list here, and we'll put your name down. Bring it on.
I'd like to speak, please.
All right, Jenny Centelli.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next. Anyone else?
I would like to speak, please.
Okay, and identify yourself.
Laura Fry from Washington, North Carolina.
All right, Ms. Fry. Anyone else?
Hey, Ron, it's Patsy. Did Post 13 show up?
They did, and I'm going to let them go right after we start the meeting, Patsy.
Hey, thanks to you. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Going once. Going twice. All right, time is closed on that.
Yep.
Everybody 6 feet apart. Hi, David.
Johnny,
Yes,
did I miss, is there any more than Centillion Fry?
that's all that I asked online.
And Jimmy, we're about ready to start the meeting, and if you'll ask the people in the hallway if they'll please be quiet.
I'm taking from whatever.
All right, it is 10 o'clock. We'll call the Harrison County Commission meeting for Wednesday, August the 5th to order. If you'll please rise and join me in the invocation followed by the pledge of the flag. Dear Lord, I pray that you guide us always, satisfy the needs that need to be met during this meeting, strengthen us as we make tough decisions. I pray that we will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail. I pray that we will be fruitful. Father, please guide us so that this meeting can be productive. Let us be effective and decisive. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Our first order of business is American Legion. They failed to make the agenda. It should have been on there a couple of meetings ago. We see if Mr. Griever or whoever's speaking for the American Legion. Come on up. We're very informal, as you know, and the floor is yours. You can sit.
Okay, Ron.
No problem.
Thanks for having us. I'm here about the American Legion, Post 13, about our roof. American Legion, just a teeny history about us. We've been around 100 years, last September. And our building is in dire need of a roof. It's been dormant for quite some time, probably since the first of the year. We do have a little bit of activities going in there as far as we rent a couple rooms just to keep, giving back to the community. And with that said, with the new roof, Ron, what we could do is, since we are a community-based facility, the help from the community, we can start giving back to the community. New roof would let us be able to have meetings upstairs, gatherings, when all this COVID expires. And we can start having our blood drives again and renting out the hall and having some fellowship at the American Legion. And the building that's attached to it, the roof, that's what needs replaced. The old house is on the historical list, and we rallied up some troops to get some grants to fix it up too. So we just want to restore Post 13 so we can start giving back to the community.
All right. Commissioner Treecost is joining us by way of Zoom. Patsy, do you have any comments, questions?
No, I'm happy that they were able to raise the money that they did, and anything we can do to help them. And then, and since I've not been able to communicate well enough with staff, maybe we could get this as an agenda item next meeting, please, or on next Wednesday.
Okay. David, do you have any questions? I think it's been a while, but when you all approached us, I think the challenge was that the estimate was somewhere around $20,000, and I think this commission had committed that if you raise 10, we'll help that way, and have a mechanism that the commission then would be the facilitator of any kind of the construction. So I reckon you give us your 10 or something to that effect. I'm not sure what the particulars was, but is that what you all remember? Is that what we remember, Patsy?
You know, Ron, I wasn't there when you all decided that. That was before I was on commission. At the same time, you know, I know what we did for the VFW, and I'm happy to have help them. And if they have done what they've done, then, you know, let's just put it up for a vote and see where we want to go from there.
So that'll be on the agenda next meeting. David, do you have any questions?
You have raised the money.
Yes, we have the $10,000. And we also have estimates to do the roof for $20,000 from local companies here.
I'm going to make the motion that we authorize 10,000, but we will pay the vendor correctly.
Sounds good.
So when you submit a bill, we will pay it, but that's how I'd like to see it.
All right. Patsy, did you hear the motion from David?
Yeah, if you want to make that motion without it being on the agenda, David, go right ahead. And Ron, I'm in favor of that.
All right, that'll save them from coming back, and we'll let staff work out the mechanics on how to proceed with a vendor as well as for expenditures. All right, so that's the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Go in peace.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. That's the accountant going there. You can tell he's dressed with a big suit. All right. Before we get on to the public comment period, let's do the 10:15. I don't think, Jessica, for the funding request by the FOP State Lodge.
Yes.
Holding their convention here, special funding request.
Yes, we have all the necessary paperwork. I believe Mr. Barnhart and or Mr. Walker are here.
All right.
Yes, please.
Stephen, come on up. Stephen is not only the president of the State Lodge, but he's also a member of the National FOC representing the state of West Virginia. Welcome, Mr. Walker, and the floor is yours. Tell us what we got here.
Mr. President, first I want to thank you all for inviting me and looking at our request. In the past, every biannual conference we have in different locations of West Virginia. Earlier this year, we were supposed to have our 49th biannual conference in Wheeling this past June, and of course, as everybody knows, the pandemic shut that down. So we generally hold, for the past 16 years that I've been state president, we generally hold our executive board and our trustees meeting up here in Clarksburg, because it's pretty centrally located in West Virginia, and we do it at the Bridgeport Conference Center. So we were able to make arrangements with the Bridgeport Conference Center. The last day of October and first day of November, we're having what I call a mini conference instead, to possibly change some board members, take action that needs to be addressed, and we asked this commission to assist us in some of our expenditures. That's the reason why we came before the board and asked you for the money that was on the grant proposal.
All right, do you have any idea of, I know they come from all over the state and probably even outside the state that will be attending the conference?
Yes, sir. We will have probably in the neighborhood of 150 law enforcement, either retired or active officers here in Clarksburg at the Bridgeport Conference Center. And additionally, I've talked to the National Fraternal Order Police President. I know he's coming, and maybe the National Secretary as well will be in attendance.
All right. Robert, Sheriff, do you have any support comments that you'd like to do as?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Certainly, I support this, being a lifetime member of the Fraternal Order of Police. Here in Harrison County, all law enforcement agencies, I can't think of any that don't have membership from our Fraternal Order of Police. Brother Rick Barnhart is actually the state second vice president. So this area is very active with the Fraternal Order of Police. We do a lot of programs to help the community. We try to buy back into the community. So I would certainly support this and ask that the commission, I noticed that it was a $3,000 request, but I can tell you, I found out today that vendors aren't stepping up to the plate as usual. So, you know, I know the request is for $3,000, but $4,000 would even be better. So thank you.
All right. Steve, one of the other questions, I don't know whether Rick or any of them have gone to the Bridgeport Convention Center or Convention Bureau, I think is what it is, because you guys are going to be having an economic impact on our community for those 3 or 4 days that you're here. So that might be another source to help fund the shortfall that you guys need in order to put on that conference. So Sheriff, you or Rick may want to look at that and find out what the mechanism is for the Bridgeport Convention Bureau. David, any questions or comments?
No, I think I'm fine with funding this, but I would want to add caveat that, like we did with the last one, that we're willing to help pay bills in case this doesn't happen. Then the money's here for next year if you need it. So I would like to approve $3,500 and have the bills be submitted to the county for payment.
All right. Patsy, did you copy that? Unmute.
Yeah, go ahead and second that $3,500, Ron.
All right. We have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Steve, did you say aye as opposed? Or aye in favor of? Patsy, one more time. Unmute.
Yes, sir?
That was an aye for in favor of, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
All right, no problem. Motion passes. Steve, have a good one.
Mr. President and Commission, thank you all very much.
All right. All right, first item on our agenda is public comment. And we're going to allow up to minutes, should, person want to take all 3 minutes or what have you. And, Ms. Dell? call the first
Lexi
one.
Mayfield.
Come on up, Ms. Mayfield.
I'm right here. Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us. First of all,
Let me put you on the clock there. All right, go ahead.
I think the commission should entertain a motion, maybe to have these meetings somewhere where it's big enough that the public can attend. Or put a speaker out here in the hallway, because they have no idea what's going on in here. I'm here because on your agenda today is the removal or the remaining of the Stonewall Jackson statue. Am I correct? Am I correct that that's on your agenda? Okay, first of all, I'd like to know why it's on your agenda, because it's already been voted on by the commission, and it was voted to remain on the courthouse plaza. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that it was voted on by city council to remain on the courthouse plaza. Is that correct?
They don't have any say.
Okay, so why are we here again today? It's been voted on. Another question I have is, if you knew it was going to be on the agenda, why did WDTV post it on Facebook yesterday afternoon around 4 o'clock, the day before the meeting? And from 4 o'clock until 8:30 last night, there were 775 comments on Facebook from people throughout the county and some people that live outside the state that were born and raised here in the county, wanting to know if there was anything that they could do from afar to convince you people to leave it alone. It's been voted on. 775 comments. I went through each and every comment. 90% of the comments was, leave it where it is. I don't understand what the issue is. Again, you've all done your history. We've all done our history. We know what that statute represents. I just don't understand why it's on the agenda today again. Can you answer that?
Ms. Mayfield, on our public comment, we commissioners just allowed the public an opportunity to express their feelings, concerns, but we don't interject and answer questions during the public comment.
Oh, so in other words, we're going to continue to repeat and repeat and repeat and discuss this and hash it around until some of the people that want it removed get their vote so they can have it removed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, Jessica.
Larry Starkey.
Thank you all. I miss you, Patsy. Wish you was here. I was here about 6 weeks ago when we had our first meeting on this, and I said when I got home to my friends, it's not over, and that fruit has come to light. A little bit of history about Stonewall Jackson. A native son of Harrison County, Virginia. He went through West Point after living a very hard life, losing his father at 2 years old. His mother gave him to his uncles when he was 7 years old. Went to West Point and became a hero for the country. At the time the Civil War broke out, this was the state of Virginia. Through all the battles that he fought, he never once fought against the state of West Virginia, not one time, because he died before we became a state. He died in May of 1863. West Virginia became a state, as we all know, June the 20th of 1863. 1 month before he passed away. He's a national treasure. We have Stonewall Jackson Lake, Stonewall Jackson Park. We have everything almost in West Virginia has Stonewall to it, and rightfully so. And we had this meeting back in June, and I was praying it was over. It's not. Then 2 weeks later, I was on vacation, and I got a text. They said, hey, they're having more meetings. I believe everybody has a right to be heard, and I have no problem with that. I hope today, after the vote, whichever way it goes, this is over. If not, I have to feel like the lady that just testified before me. We're going to be back in 4 more weeks until we get a vote that says we're going to move that statue. If that comes to air that they are going to move that statue, I don't want you to give it to the Harrison County Museum across the street where it's put in a building where nobody can see it. I would like for it to be somewhere on public display. The whole country's going crazy lately. I think we'll all attest to that, and I think we can all agree on that. When does it stop? Should we sandblast Stone Mountain? Should we remove Mount Rushmore? Should we remove the Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial? Because it offends somebody. Everything offends somebody. The Black Heritage Festival, which I have the utmost respect for and have attended many times, when they moved from down on Water Street and Hughes Avenue up here, I believe it was 5 years ago, it could have been 6. I never heard anyone at the time complain, or did they ever come to this meeting and complain about the statue being out front or covering it up when they had their meetings? I don't believe they did. It's all started because of politics, basically, is what this all started for. The nation is going crazy. I hope today that you guys would have the balls to say it's going to stay. Regardless of what some of you think, you were elected to serve the people of Harrison County, not to make what you think is your best judgment because of you. You're there to serve us. That's what
You need to.
I appreciate your time today. I hope I don't have to come back in 4 or 5 weeks to state the same thing again. God bless you.
Jessica?
Amy D. Kathy Curry.
Hey there, how are you?
Fine.
Well, I'm here today to say also that the statue should remain, and I have different reasons. The history of Stonewall Jackson is not well known to the new generations, it's true. He was an orphan, but I would like to address his relations with the Black people in his life. He was raised, when he went to his Uncle Cummings' farm to be raised as an orphan, he was raised by Miss Fanny, who was the slave of Cummings Jackson, and he was very, very attached to her. And I think it did something in his heart and in his spirit. From that time on, he had a heart for Black people. I know he was a Confederate general, but that doesn't make any difference to who he was inside. He had, when he was a grown man, he went against the law and taught slaves how to read. He taught Sunday school classes, and he is the only Confederate general that I am aware of, and maybe Mr. Houchin can enlighten me, but he's the only one I'm aware of that has a stained glass window in Roanoke, Virginia, in a church that was a Black church of freed slaves, and they raised the money and put that in there, and they have defended it from attacks from extremists who want it removed because they don't like the idea of Stonewall Jackson. So he had that. He also was had to bear the scorn of his neighbors because he was kind to his Black slaves and his Black students. The other thing that's of interest is the reason that this statue's out here, and it says on the plaque, because of the Union, you know, that there were Union descendants that supported it. He was the only Confederate general that had it, he said that upon pain of death, if you mistreat any POW of the U.S. Army, whether they're white or Black, you will have, you'll have dire consequences. So a lot of people here, Black and white, that served in the Union Army came home if they were Confederate POWs only because they came under the hand of Stonewall Jackson. So he was, respected, and the children and grandchildren of the Union people that he fought paid for it. So anyway, I say keep it, do not tear it down. If we had more statues that were of other leaders, I would say the same thing. Never take away anything, because it's history, it needs to remain right where it is, and that's my opinion.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Scott Swiger?
Morning, Commissioner. Morning, Patsy. Gentlemen, it's kind of hard to trump what's already been said. Pretty much my same words. One thing I would like to know is I do question our county government on this vote while we are here again. As Ms. Mayfield said, I don't feel that something continues to be voted on. I don't know how that system works, but it sounds a little fishy to me. Another thing, I'm kind of appalled by this meeting only having 1 day's notice. And we have citizens from Harrison County lined up in the hallway, standing around like cattle. I think this should have been in a larger area to where we could have had a quorum, if everybody could have sat down and been able to listen. People out there can't hear what's going on. I think everybody should have been a part of it. Harrison County citizens should have known they should be able to have their voice heard and hear the voices of others. As far as Stonewall Jackson goes, he does need to stand. People need to do their history. Do some background on him. Not only was he a soldier, he was a teacher, he was a professor. Very smart man. Graduated 17th in his class at West Point, even though he had no education and was very poor. His teachings are still being practiced today in the universities in physics. He was a very smart man. As far as slavery, folks, everybody back then was a part of slavery. That was the era at that time. It's not now. None of us were exposed to slavery, ever. None of us can remember a grandparent that was even exposed to it, or a great-grandparent. That was 60 years ago? It's not today. We, the people, don't see this man as a slave owner. We see him as a great citizen, somebody that made an impact, still making an impact in children's lives today in his teachings. I think it's an honor as us as West Virginians, as people from Harrison County, people from Clarksburg, should honor this man for what he's done. Like I said, we would erase every past president we've had if you wanted to talk about slavery, because that was the era. But the slaves that he was associated with, he taught them very well. And they loved him. They took his last name. After he died, they came to his funeral and they mourned. Folks, if anybody was a good man, it was him. That's pretty much all I have to say. Everybody needs to do their history on this. And please, for the next meeting, do a little more preparation. Make it to where everybody in the county can become involved, not standing around like cattle at a stop sale. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Eric Sotoros?
Thank you.
Gentlemen of the commission, thank you. I would like to present a contrast to this. I'm 38 years old, same age as General Jackson when he died. The contrast I want to present is, in General Jackson's day, he fought, whether anybody agrees or not with his motives, but he fought for what he felt was in defense of his state. And at that time, we were a part of Virginia. He also violated the laws to teach people of color how to read, taught them the Bible, and even taught some how to use firearms, which was kind of an early precursor to the NRA. Those are the things that General Jackson was doing in his days. I'm 38, and in my day, I'm burying my friends because of drugs. That seems to me to be a more pressing issue than a statue that I personally can't see how it would be hurting anybody. I could see the argument if it were General Forrest, who formed the Ku Klux Klan. I could definitely see that argument. But to General Jackson, he was a bigot, and he was not a bigot or a racist to anybody. He simply fought for what he believed in, and he tried to do the right thing in his life. And with that, I have 4 quick questions for you, Commission President. All right. My first question is, who was the original petitioner or petitioners to the vote in June? To the original vote that happened?
Again, we don't interject on the public comment period.
Okay. And, well, if you would answer these afterwards, that would be sufficient. My second question is, who was the petitioner or petitioners to the reconsideration of a vote now? My third question is, what was the standard for making this a priority now when other pressing issues affecting our citizens exist? And my fourth question, this was brought to me, has the executive order regarding monuments been taken into consideration in deciding to call for this vote a second time? And that's all I have.
All right, Derek, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Bob McCollum? Bob McCollum.
McCollum out here? Oh, man.
Keith Mesha? Forgive my mispronunciation. There, Keith Mesha. Ina Grimes?
What's the last name on that?
Grimes.
Grimes.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. I am really appalled that we are repeatedly coming back for votes. I think that we have a lot of other issues in this county that are extremely precedent over revoting every single time that somebody comes before you. I did not make this decision upon myself. I took it to a vote of the people that I speak with on mostly a monthly basis. I asked 122 people how they felt about the removal of the statue. Here's my results from that. 22 of them said you are going to do whatever you want to do until you get it the way you want it, so they didn't care. 3 people said no comment. 97 people said leave it there. Leave the statue where it is. It stands for our history. It stands for a good, honorable man. The time of his time, it was not even West Virginia. It was Virginia. He has done so many great things. Even after his time, he became a teacher and helped other people to learn what he already knew and what he already experienced. It reminds me a lot of my mom. My mom was a school teacher in this county for 30-some years. And even after she was enabled due to health reasons, she still brought children to her home on a day-to-day basis to teach them how to read and write and do mathematics. Some people don't quit being a teacher. She has left a legacy of many of our family members that are now teachers in this county. I don't know where you all are coming from with this. You put us in a little box room here, and I've spoken on this 100 times. If you're going to have a public meeting, make it public, people. Make it public. Get it out there on the courthouse square, where everyone has a right to bring their lawn chair and sit down, instead of me as a handicapped person with a very bad heart having to stand in the hallway and hear mumbles from what goes on behind these closed doors. May I say, quote, quote, closed doors. I'm tired of that. I have served on the executive committee in this county. I know how things run up here. I personally think that you all need to put this on a ballot. Ask the people. Don't put it up on your shoulders and then people shun you out here on the street. Don't let people point the fingers at you. Put it on the ballot. Let the people speak. It is our county. It's not just 1 or 2 or 4 or 6 people. It belongs to all of us. And I'm sick and tired of the way it's being done. I hope that I don't have to come back here in 3 or 4 weeks and repeat my argumentative state on removing that. I hope not.
Thank you, Ms. Grimes.
Have a great day.
Marcia Marcia Vilianco. Marcia Vilianco?
Marcia left.
She was with the,
She was with the American Legion.
Michael Griever.
He was with the American
he
Legion.
was with,
Ed Way.
what's the name?
Ed Way.
All right, Mr. Way, you have 3 minutes if you want to use them.
All right, first thing I want to say is I want to thank all the veterans for showing up. It was about time we all stood together on an issue like this. What's happened in our country is a disgrace. We are bowing and giving anything to anybody because they are offended. All these pictures here are going to come down next. You want to take down a statue of a man that was born here and done more for this county than any of us living? You want to condemn something that happened over 150 years ago? Nobody alive has done anything to anybody when it comes to slavery. You're no better than Hitler if you take our history away from us. It's ridiculous. Let's stop it now. Protect the man. He's a veteran, declared by the government that he is a veteran. It's a statue that needs to be protected. Do we have to put armed guards out there to put around it? I'm just asking you. Put it before the people. Let us vote what we do with our monuments. It's ours, not your 3. It belongs to everybody in this county. Let us decide what we do with it. We love everybody in this country. I don't care if you're black, white, brown, or anything. You're an American. You're not an African American. You're not an Irish American, a Dutch American, or a French American. Damn it, you're an American. Act like it.
Thank you very much.
Raymond Oliverio.
Raymond Lee.
James, I cannot make out the last name. Grehigh, maybe? James. Mr. James, last name begins with a G.
Griffin?
Is it Griffin?
Yes.
Then that's you, sir.
All right, Jimmy.
My name is James Griffin, and I came before you on July the 1st, representing the West Virginia Black Heritage Festival and the Black citizens of Harrison County. At that time, I asked you to reconsider your vote in removal of the statue on public property. This has been a debate, why should we honor Stonewall Jackson on public property? He was born in Clarksburg, Virginia. This is the main reason that I've heard that we should honor him, that he was born in Clarksburg, Virginia. I'm going to give you a what if. What if Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Mayfield, a Tuskegee Airman who was born in Harrison County, what if John Black, who did 2 tours of duty in Vietnam, was born in Harrison County? What if Sergeant First Class Frank Starks, born in Harrison County, who served 22 years in the service? And I'm gonna get a little personal. What if Edward David Griffin, my son, who spent 20 years in the service in Bosnia, in Afghanistan, representing his country, decided while they were doing service to their country that they didn't like what their country was doing and decided to rebel against their country and start fighting American soldiers? Would we honor them with a statue on the courthouse plaza? Or what would we call them? We would call them a traitor to their country. There are those who say removing the statue.
Hey, whoever's on Zoom, will you please mute? Thank you. Go ahead, you've got extended time, Jim.
There are those who say removing the statue is erasing their history. How is removing a statue erasing history? Would removing the statue erase the history of slavery? Look, the late Congressman John L. Lewis said, if you see something, do something. I've seen the many years of hurt the black citizens of Harrison County have had to endure.
I tell a nigga don't dick ride, don't dick ride, leave it to the double thick thighs, twin sisters. Drop it down and wobble up, mommy boot it up, shake it down and gobble up, cause my money up, slide in the belly trucker.
Yo, big sucker.
Keep them off, right? Thank you.
Whoever the host is can mute people.
Mute anybody that's talking. This is Jim.
Muting everybody.
Thank you. Jim, I'm sorry for losing your train of thought. You
That's all right.
Back up wherever you want.
I've seen the many years of hurt the black citizens of Harrison County have had to endure walking past the statue of Stonewall Jackson. I've even been ridiculed myself because I chose to move the West Virginia Black Heritage Festival from Water Street to Main Street, saying, how can you celebrate your heritage under the watchful eye of your slave master? But I truly believe that I walk not by sight, but by faith. The time is right to do the right thing. I believe.
Big double, assalamu alaikum, you big hater, you nothing but a hater, cloud chaser.
We have an issue with our Zooming, don't we? Eliminate all of them.
I can speak as they come in. That's all we got.
I believe the removal of the statue from public property should come about. Not to destroy it, but to remove it from public property.
All right. Thank you very much.
Shut up, you son of a bitches!
Do we know where that's coming from?
They jump in and jump out.
They jump in and jump out? Can you mute it all then, and we can find another way of allowing these people to,
I agree with James
Do not fucking
Griffin.
mute me, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You got them all? They
So
can
far.
hear, they just can't.
So far, but if they come in muted, but they can, everybody's allowed to unmute themselves, so it's impossible to talk.
Can we mute them all from here, not allowing them?
Mute them all.
He's only able to mute them as we have an issue with
Then
them.
why would you were interrupted that way?
Agreed.
You should be able to mute them all and let them in.
Yeah, can they come in, mute?
Before you mute everyone, may I put my name down on the list for somebody you'll unmute later?
See, they're all muted. They're all muted.
All right. Next, who's next, please?
We have, Mr. Helton is
That same thing.
I believe we're waiting for agenda item 11 for him to speak. So we have Jim Tallarico.
Thank you. I didn't know I was going to speak today. A friend of mine just asked me to come up to the meeting to listen to what was going on. And then another friend, that friend didn't show up, but another friend asked me, go in there, you got to sign that sheet.
I thought it was just sign-up sheet. But I was giving this some thought. You know, that statue's been out there since 1953. People have walked by it, have driven by it, thousands and thousands of times. Yes, and nobody has said a word about it until several months ago, when all this hoopla started throughout the country of trying to get rid of our history, regardless if it's a black slave owner, a white slave owner, whether it's Christopher Columbus who founded this country, guys who signed the Declaration or the Constitution, no matter what it was. And our politicians, whether it be county, city, state, are allowing these things to happen. And here we are today, the third time you all have had a meeting on this. You made a decision the first time not to remove it. And now you're asking for a meeting again for people to come in here and speak. Now, the ones I've heard speak here were very eloquent, and they did a great job. And they all said, with the exception of one person, that it should stay. And you know, we cannot remove history from our history. We can't do it. That is a problem today. We're not teaching our kids in school history. And if they don't learn our history, they'll never know where they came from or what they did.
Please fuck off. Please fuck off.
So I'm asking that you all make a decision, and don't make a decision based on fear. Get out the way, bitch. Get out the way. Move, bitch. Get out the way. Make your decision based on what the people of this county want. And if you can't make that decision, and you don't know what the people of the county want, then one person, lady said, put it on a ballot, let the people vote. Let the people decide what they want to do. And if you don't want to drive by that statue or walk by it, nobody is making anybody do that. So I'm here to say, keep that statue where it is. It's history of our city and our county and our state. So keep it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
James Leonetti or Lynette?
That was it. Thank you. James Leonetti. I'm here about the statue too. Matter of fact, I think it should be on the ballot. But first of all, I want to tell you, there's more to history than slavery. If you go back to the 1600s, all the white people were in slavery. They ran down white people, so they went down to Africa to get more people as slavery. Our coal miners were slavery because they owned a company house, company store, company food, company clothes. All of our coal miners in West Virginia were slavery. I got to say one thing. Most of the generals in the Confederate Army did not own slaves. In the Army.
Johnny, anyway.
Can you lower that?
Taking the volume completely off.
I can end the meeting.
What's that?
I think at this point I can end the meeting. The settings are set before we.
Well, we don't want to end the meeting. We'll try to work through it. I don't know.
I'll speak louder.
Was there a speaker, volume here?
I got a break. I'll talk now.
You all right? Okay.
Yeah, I can talk. What I'm trying to say is Stonewall Jackson, a few key Confederate officers were not slave owners. Stonewall Jackson, maybe his family was a slave owner. That's what they said in the books. But I tell you, he was not a slave owner. The reason for the Civil War, people don't realize, I went to the archives and I checked on it. The reason for the Civil War, the northern states was divided between the South. It was because the same thing as the Boston Tea Party. It was because of taxes. The North financed all the industry. The South financed all the food. And they knew if they can go to Congress and get a bill passed where they could raise the taxes on machinery and everything, they did. The southern part got their machinery from overseas. That means the Congress passed that taxes for import. And the southern state got together and said, hey, we're going to break away from the Union. Why should we do what the North is? This was not called a slavery battle. It was because of taxes. Number one, there's 179 black soldiers in the Confederate Army. 40,000 of them died. It'd be a sin to take down a statue. I can see him looking down on us right now and say, hey, I fought for the Confederate soldiers. I fought for the Southern. I want the Southern people to know that there was black people. You got the Buffalo soldiers. And another thing, if they're going to start checking DNA on who owned slaves, they better start with Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Powell, Lewis, Carver, Worsted Carver, and all of them. Because people are saying that Stonewall Jackson owned slaves. If you're going by DNA, let's get everybody. But the main thing was, you had Colonel Williams, a colonel in the Confederate Army, Shingleton, was made a colonel because he recruited over 4,000 to 5,000 Negro volunteers to fight for the South. Not all Negro people were slaves. There was Negro slave owners. Each Negro slave owner owned 154, between 7 and 154 slaves. And they were black slave owners. It didn't matter to them. It's all money and politics. So I'm for leaving the statue there, and let's take a vote. Let the people vote for it. Thank you very much.
Ginny Santelli.
She's right there. All right,
Hi.
Jenny, can you hear us?
I can. You should be able to hear me now, right?
Hold on, we're gonna beam me up. One more time, sound check.
Okay. I can hear you.
That's what we got.
I've unmuted.
Okay, we got you. You're on,
Okay.
3 minutes.
Yeah, yes, I'm here again because I don't believe the commission voted in the right way. And if I have to take time off of work, I will do it and come again if I have to. I certainly agree with the comments that you need to study your history. You most certainly do. Stonewall Jackson owned 6 slaves. He taught him to read, write, and cipher. He taught imprisoned people how to do that. And furthermore, those blacks that served in the Army, they were slaves. They had no choice. The other comments that I have heard are typical comments from white people, and they're tone deaf. Instead of going on their opinion, why don't they actually talk to some blacks in our community? Just the fact that we've had the one black mayor and the one black police chief doesn't mean that there isn't a problem. And I believe the comments we have heard so far certainly prove that we have a problem in Harrison County. It is not taking away history to move a statue to a park or a museum. Nobody's ripping out pages of a history book or removing articles from the internet. And that placard you talk about, let's be honest, how many people learned that much from Jackson on that placard? How many people have even read that placard? Let's look at some things that we can put in that place. Maybe move the immigration statue. How about you commission a monument talking about the people who did move West Virginia forward to become separate? And I am tired of the argument that the Civil War wasn't about slavery. It was just about economics. Yes, it was about economics. And guess what the backbone of the economy was in the South? Black slaves. So it most certainly does involve slavery. The other thing to consider is that we could also move a war memorial there. And let's think about the loyal U.S. citizens who did not fight in the Confederacy. They didn't go against their government. How do you think some veterans feel walking by that statue of Stonewall Jackson, seeing a slave owner, seeing someone who rose up in rebellion against his country and against the Constitution? That's what we need to be thinking about. And the two commissioners, Mr. Watson and Mr. Tricos, sorry, I am praying that the Holy Spirit sends you discernment, because we do have more citizens that do want this statue removed. And I don't know why they're not speaking out, but they should be. You need to be part of the future. We're not erasing history. We're recognizing the painful parts of it and correcting it. That statue needs to be removed from public property.
Thank you very much, Ms. Santelli.
Laura Fry.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you all the way from North Carolina.
Hi, I was born in Clarksburg, Bridgeport area, and all my family is there. I'm now a resident of North Carolina. I'm a school teacher. I just want to give my opinion as a native of West Virginia. I'm proud of all of you people that came today to say, let the statue remain. I apologize to the man who was interrupted, the American Black gentleman. I wrote down all of the names of people that were interrupting the Zoom meeting to turn in that were rude to him. I was raised to not look at color. My father, Harold Fry, there were 2 African-American families in Bridgeport when I was little. I'm 60 now. Both of those families had dinner at our table. That was the Grant family and the Marshall family of the Bridgeport area. My father loved people, and I feel like I need to speak for what he would feel. Stonewall Jackson was a soldier. That makes him a hero. He fought for our country. The statue is art, the statue is history, and I feel like it should come up for a vote on your next ballot in November so everyone can vote. And it sounds like the majority of people want the statue to remain. I also want to speak for Stonewall Jackson. He was a man of God, and it sounds like he didn't look at color either. He was a victim of his time where there was slavery. Just a moment. One of his quotes to show what kind of person he was, nothing justifies profanity. He was an honorable man. He was also religious. He wrote, Captain, speaking to Captain John Imboden before the Battle of Manassas, my religious belief teaches me to feel as safe in battle as I do in bed. God has fixed the time for my death. I do not concern myself with this, but to always be ready, no matter when it may overtake me. That is the way all men should live, and then all would be equally brave. A lot of people said good things that I was going to say. He taught Black people to read. He also taught them about God. And one of his, in his family, one of his servants, just a second, George, who was an African-American, I guess, slave in the family, he went to Stonewall Jackson's funeral and he said, I was proud to have served Stonewall Jackson. He was a man who not only cared that I learned to read, but also that I be saved. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Ms. Fry.
That's it for public comment.
That takes
No, I'd like to give my public comment, please. Rhett Madison would like to speak. Public comment, please.
Who are we talking? Who is speaking?
My name is Rhett Madison, and I would just like to give public comment for 1 to 2 minutes, please.
All right, we're going to give you the courtesy. All right, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're on the clock.
Okay. I'm calling in today to support the relocation and removal of the Stonewall Jackson statue from courthouse property in downtown Clarksburg. On June 17th, the Harrison County Commission voted to keep the statue on courthouse property. After this vote, the commissioners have received numerous phone calls, emails, and outrage and protest over this decision. The Harrison County Commission has made headlines and national news sources, including NPR, due to their June 17th vote to keep this Confederate statue on courthouse property, therefore emboldening both racists and white supremacists that have spoken out and supported the statue remaining on courthouse property. On June 17th, Commissioner David Hinkle voted in favor of relocating the statue. So therefore, I'd like to take this next moment to address Ron Watson and Patsy Trecost, who did not. Commissioner Watson and Trecost, you have listened to countless public comments by citizens at previous meetings this summer that have been overtly racist and often historically misinformed. By choosing to vote in favor of keeping this Confederate monument on courthouse property, you are saying that you, Ron Watson, and you, Patsy Trecost, are both in support of the heinous and racist history of the Confederacy and the Confederacy's fight to uphold slavery and white supremacy. Ron Watson and Patsy Treecost, I hope you stand on the right side of history and align your vote today with relocating the statue to a museum or elsewhere. Honestly, I've listened to tons and tons of people stand up at these meetings or throw in comments on Zoom calls, and I have to be honest, I feel like a lot of them are not based in accurate historical information. They seem like they're getting lost in Facebook echo chambers and just getting their facts, not actually facts, from Facebook memes. Please listen to the people that have stepped forward and are actually researched on this topic, and your citizens that are trying to move Clarksburg and Harrison County forward. Clarksburg and Harrison County citizens deserve to be standing with the rest of the nation in 2020, not withheld back in time. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you vote for progress today.
Thank you very much. That ends our public comment period. We'll move on with the consent agenda. What's the pleasure? We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Hey, Ron, one question real quick.
All right.
Hey, Ron, we hired somebody at the Park and Recreation. Can I get, Jess, what's the explanation for that? Right now, we're hiring somebody at Park and Rec where everything's shut down.
We're on that one now, Patsy. We're on item 3.
Is that not a part of the consent agenda?
I didn't see it on consent agenda.
I have
Okay, my mistake.
Anna Marie Petito, part-time.
We have it on the action item, Patsy.
Okay.
So we're at that point now. Payroll change notice.
Yes, Mr. Parker has completed.
And your question, Patsy?
What's the hiring about, Jessica?
Anne Marie Petito, $9 per hour. All staff have been brought back to help with courthouse safety precautions, Energy Express, and the collaboration with the Harrison County Board of Ed and food distribution program. All employees will need to be added to the Paycom system. That's from Mike Book. That's his explanation for bringing Anne Marie on.
What do you recommend?
Staff recommends to move forward with the hire. Willie filled out the payroll change notice form.
Okay.
All right. Motion on that effect, David? Motion to approve. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you.
Item 4 is exonerations, corrective tickets, joint property applications.
We do have a few. I will.
Patsy, they were by email also, so you should have already been able to review them. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Consolidation of land, segregation of land.
We don't have any of those, Mr. President.
All right, item 6 is consideration for the approval of project fund requisition.
We had 2 that just came in this morning. Ms. Jones is here to offer any explanations and answer any questions that you have. There are 2.
All right.
These are recurring agenda items that if we have any that come up weekly, you all sign off every week.
These are on the bonds, Gina?
Yes.
All right, and the funds come out of the special fund, and it's not general fund money?
Correct.
It's
Correct.
out of the tax that's included up there.
Right. Yes, sir.
All right. Need a motion to approve and fix our signatures?
Move to approve.
Motion.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
7, review and discuss, consider early voting locations for November. Susan, you want to present whatever we've got?
I know we discussed having more in the primary, but get there. I would like for us to have more in the, I am suggesting that we have more right here for the general election. I have spoken with the Armory for Clarksburg, that into Clarksburg. Shinnston, I had the Lighthouse is willing to let us use their facility in Shinnston. Of course, we will have the mall here at the courthouse. More.
That's for early voting?
Yes, West Milford Community Center. Here you
How many early voting?
go. That would be 4. 4 sites.
Only.
You don't care? Yes. We don't
What
care.
about Village Square? Did you contact?
I tried to call them, nobody returned my call nor my email.
Let me ask you a question. What was the problem charging us for those 10 days?
Around 600, well, around between $600 and $800, but this time we had a larger space, so it was about $1,000.
$1,000 for the 10 days?
The Armory is going to charge us around $600 as well.
Okay. I would assume, I did talk with Mark. He called me and asked me about it. Will, he runs Village Square, in case you still want to consider that. He will.
Okay.
He'll call you back in case you want it.
Well, somebody should have called me back before I called the Armory,
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
because we don't have a lot, I mean, we need to, you know,
Armory would be all right too. They're both.
I mean, it's up to you guys, whatever you guys want to do.
So, it's 10 days for, that starts when?
Starts October 21st. We try to get in there a couple days before to get set up.
Are we going with all 63 precincts in the town?
67, that's my plan, that's the plan.
All right. Still in discussion, David. Is there? Sure, the pandemic will still be in place. Have to assume that anyway.
Okay, no, but, see what we can get.
I tried in the primary. They're not willing to do, they don't want to do a short-term lease like that.
At least I might get something on there.
I agree.
Okay, well, I moved to approve 4 sites, but
All right, with
the
the,
clerk has chosen for early voting.
with the stipulation, Susan, if you want to come back with, an addendum for more, or however you.
I mean, the problem getting too many is manning them to make sure that they run properly, and
All right.
I would love to have them all over the place.
Matthew, did you hear the motion? The motion?
Yeah, motion approved.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right. Item 8 is review, discuss, and consider hourly increase for part-time employees in commission office and courthouse security. The employees, apparently, when the budget went in, was 2.5, as of July 15th. Ms. Jessica, do you have, any comments or anything from, Mr. Parker?
Just that, as of the July 15th check, our part-time employees within the commission received a 2.5% increase.
All right.
And the intent was that all commission employees receive a 3% increase.
All right, and, my discussion, David, with Mr. Parker is, I don't recall anything different, when we did the budget, that it was 3% across the board. So, Patsy, can you hear the, comments
Yes.
with regard to that? Do you have, any feedback,
No, I'm all in favor of the increase.
David?
Make a motion to move part-time employees to 3%
All right.
increase.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
They all will appreciate being fair and equitable. All right, item 9 is, review, discuss, and consider the Paycom system. I just asked for that to be put on, just to clarify, do we not have any issues, or the issues we have are just minor?
We've had some minor issues, we've had some major issues. We are working through those. I'm praying third time's a charm.
Good.
Everything, I mean, it's not been easy, but I anticipated we'd have issues.
Okay.
And I do apologize for, I think, we did not communicate some things that we probably should have to some employees, and I will take complete.
I know it's tough going into a new system like
It
that
is.
with the number
The girls
of things.
have really had to work day and night and trying to answer all the questions and all the emails.
Yeah.
It's been tough. We'll get there. I'm confident in that.
Anything, David?
Well, I mean, if there's any major issues
Believe me.
that you need for us to give you a hand with, please
Oh, I've voiced my concerns.
give us a yell.
They're on the call.
Okay.
Anything, Patsy, on the Paycom?
No, sir. No.
All right. That was just a discussion item. There's no action that needs to be taken unless, Susan, you guys bring it back to us.
Okay, thank you.
Item 10 is a review, discuss, and consider revisit a Stonewall statute. David, I understand we have someone here from the library or?
The lead genealogist from the Clarksburg Library, Mr. David Houchin, please join us.
Jessica, how about leading us into the discussion and consider?
Mr. Hinkle requested that we do some additional research on
Okay.
the ownership of the statue and where the money came from to obtain that. So I contacted the Clarksburg Library, looking for some newspaper articles, thinking that we may be able to track down some stories at the time of the dedication, things of that nature, to just do some grassroots research on it. And I came across Mr. Houchin and his expertise, and he was able to provide additional insight, as well as put an official research request into WVU's research library to find information on the subject. And he also searched Baltimore by hand yesterday, as I understood it, and he has so graciously agreed to share some of his insight with us today, as you gentlemen were discussing the statute.
All right. The intent will be to make it part of today's record, whatever you present, just like the public comment. You got it?
Thank you.
Identify yourself for the record.
Oh, I'm David Houchin. I work the West Virginia desk at the library in Clarksburg. I've been doing that for 25 or 30 years without accomplishing anything very much. But around 1990, the library came into possession of the Joseph Burstein papers. Mr. Burstein was one of the people involved in the steering committee and so forth to get the statue to Clarksburg and so on in the early 1950s. And although I didn't know it when I woke up yesterday morning, we have all of the relevant documents about the acquisition of the statue and so on and so forth. I was really surprised how much we have. The sculptor is a man named Charles Keck, whose studio was on West 10th Street in New York City. He had the contract years before to create the Jackson statue that's on the University of Virginia campus in Charlottesville. It's like ours, it's larger. Apparently he began the work by making a scaled down version of it, which, as it turned out, provided actually a better likeness of Samuel Jackson than the more official one in Charlottesville. Well, he grew older and older, and the Jackson statue sat in his studio in Lower Manhattan for years and years. And sometime in probably the late 1930s, former Governor Cornwell, who had been governor of West Virginia during the First World War and was a promoter of this sort of commemoration, went to the studio and saw the statue and initiated a campaign to have it moved from Mr. Keck's studio to Jackson's Mill. And there was a competing plan to take the statue to Lexington, Virginia, and put it on the campus of VMI, where he had taught in the period when he was, an instructor in physics and so forth, in a period, before the Civil War. Now, those plans for Jackson's Mill and for VMI fell through. And Mr. Joseph Terrell, who had been the manager of the West Virginia Transportation Company, which was a subsidiary of the B&O that ran the interurban bus lines in the 40s and 50s. Mr. Terrell had been their general manager, and in 1950 he was widowed, he was retired, and he took this task on pro bono. He may have also contributed generously to the funding of the project to acquire the statue from Mr. Keck and get it transported to Clarksburg and placed on the courthouse plaza. At the very beginning of all this discussion, the sculptor, Mr. Keck, died unexpectedly. And so the further dealings were with the estate. And the original asking price for the statue was $10,000. The estimate for the construction of the granite base on which the statue rests was not more than $5,000. So they were looking at about a $15,000 project. Two anonymous donors had made large contributions to the project of $2,000 each. And so they had $4,000 and $11,000 to raise. And so there was a public campaign to raise funds to pay for the statue and its, erection on the courthouse square. And along the way, Mrs. Keck, the widow and administratrix of the estate of Charles Keck, discreetly suggested that in fact the group here could have the statue for much less than the original asking price. So we acquired the statue not for $10,000 but for $2,500. And the granite base was secured for a little under $1,500. So the whole thing was brought in for $4,000. And the granite base was shipped down here from Minnesota, and the statue was shipped down from Manhattan, and they were placed in storage in a facility provided by Hope Gas until it was time to put them on the public square. And the statue was installed, and there was an unveiling ceremony on the 90th anniversary of Stonewall Jackson's death on the 10th of May, 1953. And a variety of people spoke. The principal speaker was Frank Haymond, who was one of the justices of the Supreme Court of Appeals. And we have the full text of his remarks. We don't have the text of other remarks. The bishop of the Methodist Church's bishop for the West Virginia, what will we say now, conference, made an appearance. The rabbi of the local congregation of Tree of Life made a presentation. There was absolutely no participation by the Black community in Clarksburg. No one asked, and nothing apparently was offered. I don't know if it was notorious. It seems as if on the Republican side of the ledger, when the Republicans were still the party of Lincoln and had depended on the Black vote for decades and so forth, I don't think the Republicans were much of a sponsor of this little move. Well, I don't want to talk you to death about it. But at the ceremony then, a representative of the county formally accepted what must be termed the gift of the statue. So I think the statue has belonged to the county since that formal acceptance in 1953. And do you have? Does anyone have a question? I know I begin to overheat a little bit when I have to talk in public.
David, do you have any questions?
No, I don't think I do. You say you have a full file on the...
Yeah, I brought a few excerpts today. I have an article about the plan to put the statue there from the Weston Democrat in 1952, which is quite detailed and has a long statement by Mr. Terrell, who was the project chairman and the principal mover. And I rather suspect Mr. Terrell may have been one of the generous donors. Those two original donors who contributed altogether $4,000 ended up paying for the entire project. And the little bit of money that was raised, like Jennings Randolph's $5 contribution. Most of the contributions were $5. A $25 or a $50 contribution was a large contribution as far as the public fundraising side is concerned. So it was really a project of a couple of people, I think, who were Civil War devotees, maybe devotees of Stonewall Jackson, maybe of the Confederacy. We don't know anything about Mr. Terrell's politics. Many politicians had nice things to say about the project. John W. Davis wrote a supporting letter and so forth. There's not a peep from Governor Underwood. I think, I don't think that the Clarksburg Telegram, the Republican paper, I think they may have just put a blackout on this. I read through their newspaper for the month of May 1953 for any reference whatsoever to this. I think that the publishing company and the Highland family and the Clarksburg Telegram were probably opposed to the whole thing, and it would not be out of character for the Highlands to have simply put a news blackout on the whole blasted story. They did that with one of the anti-Vietnam War protests in the early 70s. They just said, it will not be mentioned in our newspaper, and it wasn't. Anyway, this was in the days of the Highlands domination of local politics and the famous nonpartisan organization that was created to write a new charter for Clarksburg and to reorient local government. That was part of what was going on in those days. And I get the impression that this was rather a partisan matter at the time, although none of these documents say that in so many words, because they're designed to be read in public and applauded by whoever's listening, politically.
Questions, David? No. Patsy, any questions?
No, thank you.
The original promoter was Governor Cornwell, and he was a dedicated white supremacist.
All right.
And as governor, he took steps to discreetly discharge Black Republican employees of the state of West Virginia and so forth. So
That volume of the file handy, and if you research and find anything else that you think would be relevant.
If you would like, I could try to write a chronology of this, and and excerpt the appropriate documents in detail. It shouldn't take too long.
I think it would be, everybody wants to talk about the history of Stonewall and the statue, then I think it would be good to have a type of report.
Yeah.
The question, the question is difficult to return to the early 1950s, and how much can this campaign to bring the Jackson statue that had been in storage in the sculptor's studio for years and years in New York to West Virginia? Well, we know that it began, the first notion to bring that version of the statue to West Virginia was probably between 1935 and 1940. So long before the rise of the civil rights movement, really. It was before the integration of the U.S. military under President Truman's order, and all of this happened before the decision in Brown versus Board of Education and so forth. So to what extent this represented an attempt to remind people who was boss in America, well, I don't know. And of course, it's 100 yards away from the place where he was born, so we might as well accept that.
Okay.
I don't know what to say. I'm here as a public employee. I'm not here to advocate a position one way or the other.
Could I ask a
Thank
question?
you.
Could I?
Go ahead, Ms. Curry.
My question is this, I'm so glad you got Joe Burstein's papers. And, it is known that also some very influential people in this town were on those committees to bring the statue here. Ed Secret, did you see his name in there?
I have, but not with me
If you guys
today.
don't mind,
What I was gonna say was,
let's take this after. You're welcome to talk to him so that we can finish our commission meeting.
Yeah.
All right?
be glad.
All right. Nothing else, right, David?
I can retreat to my seat.
All right.
Trying to keep it-
Are we still on the review and the consider the revisit?
Yeah, first off, I'd like to, acknowledge that the information that was originally out there, that the statue was thought to belong to the daughters of the Confederacy. I think now, that's not.
May I say, I neglected to say, we have among the Burstein papers a reel of tape, an audio recording of the whole dedication ceremony. It lasts about an hour. I don't have a reel-to-reel machine to put it on, but I think, that's one of the things we consider doing is get a transcription of the rest of those remarks, especially the remarks of the county representative who was accepting the statute. Maybe that would clarify the
The
ownership
county
question.
accepted it? I'd like to make a motion that, before this one, that the county, agreed to have that, tape turned into a translation for everybody to read, and that the county will cover the cost of transcribing that tape. All right, so the library doesn't have to absorb that cost.
Hold that thought, David. Patsy, did you hear the motion from David?
Yes,
Comments?
no.
All right. So David, clarify your motion, so that clearly understand. So what you're wanting is to have the tape transcribed so that it can be part of the official record for not only us, but also for the library as an archive or as research. So it's only Patsy to allow the transcription of a document as to when this whole statute and issue was accepted, I'm assuming, by the county back in 1953 or something to that effect.
And how much is that gonna cost, Ron?
You want me to pull it out of the sky? I don't know. Do you want an estimate first?
I mean,
do it that way.
let's find out if how much money we're spending, and if it's just a few dollars, sure. I want to preserve history just as much as anybody, but at the same time, I mean, I'm not going to vote no either. If you want to do it, but make it a second, and I'll vote yes. But I mean, we don't know. We're diving in the pool. We don't know if there's any water in it.
Well, it's just a matter of preserving the audio into a written form.
Well, Ron, I agree with you. We're preserving it in a written form. I'm also voted for somebody hired at the park board today that nobody can tell me what they're going to do during a pandemic. I mean, I need numbers sometimes, and I need to know why, so.
All right. You want to restructure your motion?
No, go ahead
David?
and make the motion, David. I second your motion.
All right, so we have a motion, then any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's unanimous, so let's hope that it doesn't break the bank, Patsy, to have it transcribed. All right, continue, David.
Again, I think from today's conversation, we can pretty much rule out the doctors better being involved in this. But as I understand, or is there somewhere in there that still could be part of this history?
Well, it was a committee of the Stonewall Jackson chapter of the institution, and members made contributions, but any of the larger contributions seem to have been discreetly. I don't know who the principal donors are. I don't know if UDC if that committee continued in existence after the dedication of the statue. I know that within a short time after the dedication, Mr. Terrell resigned his position as chairman of that committee. But I'll be able, I only started work on this yesterday at about lunchtime. So soon I'll have
That's good,
more
David.
paper I can produce.
All right. From what I can gather from what you said, it was given to the county.
Presumably, we'll know that when we hear the date.
My motion would be to still relocate the statue to private property or another city or state entity that would wish to have the statue. I still don't believe it belongs on the courthouse, but it does represent, in my opinion, the what Harrison County stands for and should be looking to grow into the all-inclusive community that Clarksburg so proudly tries to promote. And I think the state and the county try to promote that. And so my motion is to find a new location for the statue as soon as we can.
All right, so I'm assuming the motion is to reconsider? Or is this a brand new motion?
Brand new, because we're
All
not
right,
giving it
brand-
back to the daughters.
All right, so a brand new motion is to relocate to a more appropriate place of the Stonewall statue. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Come on, Patsy.
A motion,
Come on, Patsy. Come on,
Come on,
Patsy.
Patsy. Let's go, Patsy. You know this is wrong. Come on, Patsy.
Come on, Patsy.
blew it.
Be on the right side of
Motion, the motion dies for lack of a second. All right, moving on. Item 11 is the resolution authorizing the acceptance of funds for the purchase and expenditures by the Harrison County Clerk's Office in the 2020 Have-A-Care Act grant program. Ms. Jones.
Yes, actually, the next two items on there has to do with Have-A-Care grant. The one is for accepting $60,937 for expenditures that has already been made from the clerk's office to reimburse that. And the other is a grant for $167, which you all approved to. $167,000, sorry. I'm all clarify that. Look up today. $167,000 in which you all had approved to put in the 15% match on it.
All right.
So this is to accept the funds.
Accept the purchase and resolution and fixed signatures where appropriate.
Correct.
Need a motion to that effect?
Motion to accept both.
All right.
Resolution, the signature to the vote.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and item 12 is a resolution accepting funds for reimbursement of qualified expenditures. Harrison County Clerk's Office, is this, what you just put, so that was both of them? All right. The last item is Commissioner's public comment. Or comments. Patsy, do you have any parting words before the adjournment?
You know, I do. I want to let you know we're still having a problem communicating with the magistrate's office and the family court. They're not getting the updates on what's going on throughout the courthouse when it comes to cleaning and testing and being kept in the loop of things that are going on that pertain to you know, from one end of our facility to the other, you know, with both buildings. So we have got to work on that a little bit, please.
All right, Jessica.
Yes, I've met with Miss Hanning over there, the magistrate clerk, before she went on vacation, and I've kept her abreast, and we've invited everyone in the annex to be tested. Either, I believe their testing is today, so we've tried to communicate with all of them about when testing would be, so they had the opportunity to go today from 10 to 4 to be tested. But we'll certainly make every effort to communicate on our end.
All right, anything else, Patsy?
Yeah, is Jim on the phone from 911? I wanted to ask if the applications went out for the 2 new employees at the 911 center.
Jim Copenhaver? Jim Copenhaver, you can unmute. Question to you. Patsy,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I was just wondering, have you and Willie got the applications out, or Jessica?
That information has been set uptown. I do not know if it's been published yet. Normally I find out when my email inbox starts getting a bunch of returns from Indeed. I've not seen anything yet.
But it has been sent forward?
It has been moved uptown, yes. We submitted a draft copy of a proposed help wanted ad.
Okay, and thank you for that. And Ron, the only other thing I wanted to address with you and David was that I agree with both of you, Ron, that the WVU facility and the new facility that we've created to house our equipment, I agree with both of you that should either be blacktopped or concreted, and we need to move forward with that to complete that project. It doesn't, would make it more handicap accessible, and also in the winter allow us to treat it easier and possibly help our guys getting in and out of the building. So I do agree with both of you about moving forward with that.
All right. Anything else, Patsy?
No.
All right, David.
Patsy, just to go back to Parks and Rec, Mike asked to bring back to help with courthouse safety, Energy Express, and to work with the Board of Education on food distribution programs. So he asked that this person be brought back from the part-time job to help with this.
That's not Petito.
That's for Petito.
That's the one we just already
Yeah.
approved.
Patsy had a question about why.
Why it was brought back.
Yeah.
David, I appreciate that you know that. I'm sorry I didn't.
It's in the packet here, Patsy. When they signed off on the payroll change notice, this document was behind it so the commissioners could see it. I'll be happy to scan it in and send it to you if you'd like that.
No, I'm good, thanks.
All right. Comments, David?
Couple things. Again, I brought it up last week. COVID is still a big issue in our county. We've got 33 active, 85 people quarantined. We need to work better as a county to get this under control and start working on bringing these numbers down.
No, actually, this is the payment. I know it looks like it's shipping, it's not the shipping, it's the actual cost.
Recently, we had some issues here in the courthouse with COVID, and I want to thank our staff for doing such a great job and getting it cleaned up and bringing everything under control. And I do want to speak to some of the things that were said today, that I don't think we've been doing this multiple times. When you have a citizen that is concerned and comes to the commission and asks for the commission to look at something and to take it under advisement and to relook at something that's going on the commission previous did, I think it would be wrong for us to ignore those people, and that's why we're here, is to represent everybody, just not a large group. So if one individual wants to make that request and one of the commissioners feels that it's a request that the other two commissioners should look at, I hope that the people of Harrison County feel that they can go to any commissioner and make that request. I don't ever want them to think that just because something's been asked once, it can't be asked twice, or can't be asked a third time. That doesn't mean that it's gonna happen for them, it doesn't mean it's gonna change the way we vote, but we want the people to be involved, and that's very important to me. The only other thing I'd like to bring up, if I could, is there's a gentleman in the back who wants to talk about rail trails for a second, and I think he and Patsy have spoken. And Patsy, we're gonna give him a chance to speak right now.
Okay.
I just was,
name, sir?
Randall Kelly, Victory Construction Company. She had told me to come in and put my name down. There is a house out on the Mount Clair Road that needs demoed. and a woman contacted me about tearing it down. The only way to get anything in to do the work is on the rails. You got to go out through the tunnel with an excavator and probably about 6 loads of debris that will be hauled to the landfill. And I didn't know who to talk to.
Is that on the right-hand side?
Where they had that
before you
slip?
get to Custer?
It's where the slip was, right across from the feed line. It's down, set down over the bank. They fixed the road. There's no access. And I was just.
So you're asking for, consideration to use that to demolish the property owner and you have already decided, so
Yeah,
it's nothing from the county other than using the access?
Right,
And,
right.
David, as long as we put it back,
Back the way it was.
Right.
I think that helps us.
Better.
Right, I understand.
Yeah, you can concrete it.
Well, I don't know if there's that much money in it, but it's probably good that the woman's gonna pay to get it tore down and get it out of there, so.
Yeah, I just get with our, Patty, just get with, Jessica or planning.
That's, 6 or half of 12.
Okay. Get with her and, Jessica, and she'll.
Right, put a letter in, and then what we can do is make it part of the,
You want to just write your number down there so I can get a hold of you.
next meeting as a consent item.
Okay.
All right, anything else, David? Now, my parting comments is with the continuation, I still am a strong believer that we should find a mechanism to allow the voters to do it.
You just get with, you
Putting
can
us-
take all this,
Okay.
and we'll
Putting us
give me
in
what
a
you
spot
want on
to
the agenda
make
next
the
week.
decision, either one way or the other, when it's so controversial, I think we need to be as neutral as we can and allow the public who we work for to have that option. I mean, they can always vote us out, that's what happened to me, so.
Not to but maybe they need to realize that's something that doesn't go on the ballot.
We understand that.
No, I know you do, but
Yeah, but there is a mechanism that we could probably come up with
no,
that allows.
I think you had a good idea.
Yeah, well, anyway, that's just my parting comment, so I'll
Hey,
continue to
Ron,
be.
I'll support whatever it is that you think you can do between the two of you and Susan. You both know something I don't know right now, but I would be in favor of allowing the citizens to make this decision.
Yeah. Here's Patty, Ron, as far as the citizens making the decision, other than doing a vote, and this may sound strange, but we were elected to make decisions. And if we're going to put things on the ballot or put it on a public because it feels good, then where do we stop and start with the public? The public doesn't want Robert to have new police cars, does that go on per vote, or do we make that decision? If 911 needs all new radios and it's a $20 million thing, do we put that back before the citizens? As the representatives, we're chosen to make these decisions, no matter how hard they are and how it affects the three of us and the county, but we were chosen to do it, and I just hate to start putting something out there when everybody then can start saying, well, I prefer to have a vote on that. I want to have a say in it, and I just don't want to see us cross that line. And that does worry me.
And honest to gosh, I see your side of it and I see Ron's side of it. It's almost like I can agree with both of you right here.
I think from David, just as a follow-up on that, I am overwhelmed with the number of voters in this county that have given me a loud, clear message.
Yeah.
So my vote will continue to be, without their vote, speaking on their behalf, will continually to be, leave it alone. So.
Motion adjourn?
Move it. Second. All in favor, say aye. Thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Go right ahead, Ms. Curry.
I want to ask one question. First of all, I agree with you that